in the context of My Little Pony, I will reveal the queen archetype in time, but for an aggressor, we have Queen Chrysalis. She wants something, she takes it. She wants rule of a kingdom, she will conquer it. And I know not everyone might have seen the finale. Has anyone here not seen the finale? I shall withhold commentary then. Well, the most recent finale, but no spoilers. However, if you haven't seen the season 2 finale, I'm sorry, I gotta set a limit here. I'm sorry. Plus, I see Alicorn Wings, so I know you've seen at least season 3 finale. Now, on the passive side is Nightmare Moon. She thought she was owed attention. She was jealous. She got angry and hateful because she wasn't getting what she thought she deserved. And as such, she became a fallen queen. The negative archetype. That's the message we get to get saying, don't be like that. Be like this. And so, that begs the question though. If archetypes are sort of universal, what's the difference between an archetype and a cliche? Because we see this, right? That's so cliche. I find that so boring and repetitive. Yo, sir.
I know what a cliche is.
Is?
It is something that is overused in pop culture.
Exactly right. Or even ancient culture. Lots of cultures have had cliches over the years. But the question is then, if all archetypes are present in all cultures, why are they not instant cliches? Because archetype is an idea. It's the foundation. How you build on that, what you make of your archetype, that can become a cliche or it can be celebrated. Game of Thrones, Jon Snow, basically a king archetype in the making. He's making his way up. But it's kind of unique. Not every king archetype starts off as an illegitimate child. Link, the warrior, not quite the same as Conan the Barbarian, I think we can agree. They're both warriors, they're both guys who found something they cared about, that had strong beliefs in something greater than themselves. Conan was morally duplicitous at times, but at the end of the day, he got really mad if you were hurting someone who couldn't fight back. So he stood up for something. So, meanwhile, you might have generic nice guy who's like his Sir Lancer-Lot. And that's it. Yeah. That's the idea. You barely changed anything. People recognize this point for point as another character. You've made a cliche. Way to go. Oh, you're so original. 0 to 10, unsubscribe, worst ever. Okay, so basically people recognize when you're just recycling ideas. If you don't add some special twist or freshness, they're going to get really bored. My favorite example is a little comparison. I don't know how many Warcraft fans we have in here, but there is the book Arthas, Rise of the Lich King. This was when they wanted to promote the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. So they wrote a story of basically Darth Vader Jr. This is what he was. Fall from grace, fallen hero, becomes the ultimate bad guy. It's Darth Vader. I read it, and I was like, this is Darth Vader. I wanted something that was not Darth Vader. I wanted to forget the prequels.
You don't know the power of copying.
Paste with me, son. Copy, paste with me.
You'll rule the internet as one in, I don't know.
Now, I'm not sure how many people have read The Steel Remains. It's a more adult fantasy. There's a lot of cursing. But this was a great fallen hero story because, one, it delved into his history, his attitude, his relations. The main character, slight spoiler, who is hinted to become the fallen hero, it made him a real rounded character. It wasn't just plot point for plot point. It was a genuine character build. I recommend it to anyone who wants to explore the idea of the fallen hero.
Even Breaking Bad did it.
This is where I'm in the dark. I've not seen all of Breaking Bad. A man who started just wanting to help his family financially and ended up tearing them apart, as far as I know.
A meth lord.
A meth lord. Well, there was a methodology to him.
How much of this have I missed?
Only a few slides. I haven't covered the actual archetypes.
Okay, good, because I was helping a friend get her paid cash.
No worries. But here's the thing. Jung and his students were all big fans of fours. 4 is a very natural occurring number. It's sort of the balancing point. So why he didn't say quadrology or quartet? I think he wanted to sound smart. That's why he did quaternity. Quaternary. Quaternary. See, I can't even say. I've done this panel once before, and I still can't say this word. Young. So I'm going to cover the 4 quaternaries for female archetypes, 4 quaternaries for male. Now, we're all fans of a show that was marketed towards young women. And yet, we're dudes. Many of us in this room are dudes. I'm also glad to have you guys here. So basically, this idea that these only apply to a male or female is an outdated thought in my eyes. You identify with a good character, it's a good character. And like this whole animus and anima say, we have elements of both within us. That's natural. It's healthy. So we begin with the Hetaria, which, again, words that I have hard time saying and had to look online to get even the definition.
So you're like, Google how to say this word, and it's like, Hetaria, and you're like, Hetaria, and you're just saying it over and over and over.
Actually, Google just said, would you like to look from our pony? Stop trying to sound smart. I'm the internet and you're offending me.
I wasn't trying to offend you, I was just exaggerating.
Oh, no. No, this is, but it's the internet. Can you offend the internet? Probably. Can I?
Well, look at Ultron. 1 minute on the internet, he went crazy.
Oh
my God!
One Google search ended him. Now, this is an odd thing for me to label Fluttershy because oftentimes this archetype is linked with the court courtesan, the charmer, she who engages with men on a one-on-one scale. And obviously this is not meant romantically.
So, Rarity?
Oh no, Rarity's in this, but not in this role. See, the thing about the Hetaria is that it's more on one-on-one relationships that involve challenging male preconceptions and attitudes. Now let's look at Fluttershy's track record. Somehow she's not killed Angel.
Oh my!
Mad
We all wish
props.
we could.
Infinite patience. She reformed a flippin' Draconiquus. This is something none of the other main 6 could accomplish. Only Fluttershy was able to win this guy over.
Fight a dragon.
She didn't fight a dragon. She lectured it into submission. She talked it down. Basically, she challenged this idea that it could do whatever it wants because it was bigger. And so she basically made it cry. Dang. And most recently, she helped a bit of a layabout get his rear in gear. And again, not through violence, not through, some intimidation, but not through false bravado. She was sincere, honest, stood up for herself, and she pushed them.
You can live here if you get a job.
There you go. Well, hey,
Millennial.
clear terms. Clear terms. I'm not going to throw you out, but you're not staying either. You got no counter for that. I'm in a box. You got me in a box. I can't counter that. And basically, the goal of the Hetaria, the goal of the Hetaria is not necessarily to nurture you. It seems like that way with Fluttershy at first, but she's had her strongest moments when she's laid in the tough love, throwing the breezies out, telling them, you can't stay. You gotta go. Not violent, not condescending, but laying down the law, you gotta go.
Honest truth.
The honest truth, even though it hurt her. Yes, sir.
Brother, I think.
Or brother, yes, the layabout, you gotta get a job. And then also laying down, you're smart and clever and talented. Meanwhile, I'm in the audience saying, I've known this guy for 20 minutes. I haven't seen any of that. What? I wanted to slap him for at least 15. Rainbow, help me out here.
I wanted to probably kick him through a wall every single time. He's like, yeah, I like Rainbow Dash. And she's just like, get this serial stalker away from me. I will seriously kill him.
Well, and speaking of the Rainbow Dash, we come to our next aspect, the Amazon, which almost sounds like an insult.
Oh my God!
It almost sounds like an insult. We call it the Amazon because the Amazons of lore were very strong, capable warriors to be feared. Basically, some versions I've heard is that they would actually lop off a part of themselves so they could wield the bow properly. What? Yeah.
What?
This
Yeah.
actually happened, yes.
Yeah. Well, in
Nation of Scythia.
Scythia.
Oh, Dr. Wolf, you're.
Yes. Oh yes, he's my plant. No.
Oh,
But Dr. Wolf is an avid fan of history and knows a great deal.
History and anything having to do with
if he's your plan, should I call the cops?
In order to wield the bow properly on horseback, that is something that
The victims of fashion.
I guess now we have an answer to Dr. Wolf's dream in the review of Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep.
Sheep, yeah.
I don't know if you studied Blofeld and James Bond as much, but
not so much.
though this is one of the gentlest, most soothing voices the Broad community knows the history of war. War. Oh, remind me to get water. Water everywhere, so let's all have a drink. So, basically, the Amazon, it may not sound like a compliment, but basically it's meant to represent strong and capable women. However, they are very strongly influenced by their animus. We throw the term tomboy around, but basically she is inspired by personality traits that many would consider masculine, but she has not sacrificed the feminine. And this is why I like about Rainbow. This is why I like her better than other characters who have tried to be rough and tumble. A lot of characters who go this way, they say, oh, I don't like that, that's girly. Rainbow is perfectly willing to take part in a fashion show. Went gaga for the Paris sprites when she first saw them. Oh God, that was adorable. She was giving it little kisses.
Yeah.
Rainbow likes things simply because she likes them. She doesn't worry about how she looks. Yet in a way, she's also one of the most brash, confident, assertive, a little bit over-impulsive.
A little?
A wee skosh.
You sure? Yes, the only person who has a bigger ego than you.
I will challenge you on that one.
I think they might be a little.
That'd be an idiot.
Troops in the vending hall.
That is a bad answer, my good sir.
There'd be a video. Rainbow Dash and Silver-Quill have an ego off.
Well, after all, he is awesome incarnate according to his ego, and she is probably
20% cooler.
Yeah.
So basically, this is an aspect of the female that pushes forward, that stands up when everyone else tries to intimidate them into submission. This is the part that says, no, you are in charge of me. In fact, if you want to make the field uneven, you know what? That's just going to make it even sweeter when I beat you. It doesn't matter. It may be combat in ancient stories. In this context, it is excelling in the workplace. That spirit of competition and not letting someone else dictate your future, that is the Amazon aspect of a healthy female personality. So, yeah, work on that. Now, of course, like I said, there's pinnacles and there's shadows. Lightning dust might be a shadow of over-aggression. She wanted things so bad she didn't care who she hurt. Rainbow cares about that. There's a discipline and a focus, even despite her ego and impulsiveness. But basically, so we've covered 3 aspects of the female quaternary. We're never going to get used to saying that. But here's the thing. Our 4th one is a little bit of everything. On both sets, the female... Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I've only covered 2. Silly me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Because we have the medial. Now we're on the 3rd. The medial is Miss Rarity. And you may think, well, hang on, isn't she about challenging preconception? And she's flirted with more guys than the rest of the staff. That actually has very little to do with it. That is simply a character trait of rarity. See, this is like an archetype. She's not just this one thing. They've added other elements to her. No, the medial is often regarded as the high priestess, seeker of knowledge and development. She's not really in it to nurture a single individual as the Heteria might be. She's in it more to gain knowledge experience for many people, to grow a group. The medial, often depicted as both a high priestess, a creative, a mechanic, is drawn to seek out the unknown, to understand it, to make it less unknown, ergo, known. And basically to be creative. There's a song that comes to mind, Art of the Mess? Art of the Stress, kinda.
Art of the Dress.
Yes. Art of the Dress. That was the song that made me fall in love with Rarity. just the passion she had for the creativity. This was her being the medial in full grandeur.
At first, when you were talking about the medial with the first point, it sounded like you had mistaken Rarity with Twilight.
Oh, we'll get to Twilight.
Oh boy.
But we also have another episode, Sweet and Elite, that shows that the medial has a problem. In being, well, also in Suited for Success, there's the desire to help others, to be accommodating, to be
Here's
part
your
of it.
prize to give away.
Oh, also, folks, you should know that my own personal, would Kelly be more a Heteria, Nurturer, Medial, or Amazon?
Amazon.
Hear that, Kelly? My good friend. So, when we get to the Q&A, this will come into play. All right, so, thank you, Sam. My
Don't
friend
insult
Sam.
the Amazon.
Oh!
You're talking about your own wife there.
Can after this panel, can I be anywhere but at the dealer's room with you guys? I don't want to go back now.
She doesn't need to know. You won't get this posted for like 6 weeks.
Oh my god.
But what if she was standing right there? No.
If she was
No,
standing right
don't.
there, I'd be a
Don't.
smoking crater right now. But, put simply, Rarity's desire to help others has come back to bite her many times, and she is heavily influenced by the groupthink. When she was amongst those elite ponies, one of the hardest things for her to do was to say, yes, these ponies from a rural town are my friends, and they mean a lot to me. That took an act of courage, and I know a lot of people were sort of shaking their fists throughout the episode, but this is part of what archetypes are not beyond corruption. They are not immune to temptation or doubt. They struggle with these things, and if anything, the medial is so interested in connecting with groups that sometimes they have to firmly set rules to protect themselves, to help define their sense of self. And that's what Rarity's been learning. So, now we've covered 3. Now we've covered. So, you've got 3 archetypes. Numero quattro is actually a combination of the 3 and then some. The queen/mother archetype, often, well, you know how sometimes they refer to her as the queen mum. He said in his worst British accent ever. Basically, the queen is both a combination of the stronger traits of the Amazon, the medial, and the Hetaria, mixed in with an interest in others. Her goal is to nurture her subjects and her charges. Basically, balance out the strengths of the others, avoid the weaknesses. It's like the grand package. Basically, but with this comes a certain responsibility. The queen or mother recognizes that she is at the center of it. She is not the center, but she is a part of this, and she is in charge with their care. So her personal desires and ambitions have to be set aside. It's why Celestia is never going to tell you she can't do this because she has to work on her stamp collection. It's 1,000 years. That's a lot of stamps. So they have this image of a royal guard opening a door in Cantelon and getting smothered by avalanching stamps.
If she's an avid stamp collector, she wouldn't just throw them in a closet.
Maybe.
Pretty much.
That's what they do for the newbie guards.
The newbie guards, there you go. Well, either way, it's a sticky situation. That's right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The stamp collector doesn't get ones that have been used.
Well, I'm sure she'll have that problem licked.
Oh dear.
Oh.
There we go. See, every time we get a drone, it's a win. But basically, Celestia is the elements. She is strong and assertive in setting, but also knows how to set goals or boundaries. She nurtures the growth of her charges, and she seeks to both learn and share that knowledge and get them to grow. This is now. I know a lot of fans dump on Celestia because whenever we see her, she's in trouble. She's in a situation that she can't control. She's been abducted, depowered, put aside. I wish the show would allow her to take center stage just for a little bit.
Princess Peach.
Princess Peach should be like, well, here's the thing. The shadow of the princess archetype is the damsel in distress. And that's Princess Peach. You want to know why? It's not that she gets captured by Bowser all the time. Super Mario 3. Dear Mario, due to my latest kidnapping, I can't really help work with you, but I've enclosed this tree.
Except she didn't get captured until the end of that game, but okay.
Actually, I think that letter was from later. There is a game where she literally says, due to my most recent kidnapping, I can't help. And I'm like,
Dear Lord.
okay, you're treating this as a calendar mark. You want to kidnap me? I'll pencil you in for Friday.
I'll even wear my own chloroform.
Ooh. The damsel in distress archetype, a negative shadow, is not only at the world's mercy, she's okay with it. She just accepts that role. She forfeits her independence and waits for someone else, not just to save her from conflict, but to save her from the troubles in her life. It's why people often rag on the princesses in general, who are sometimes depicted as overly passive. Early Disney princesses are a rough example. Sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, so that's what you did. Well, so I'm guessing that's what you do with Prince Celestia too?
Well, sometimes she just likes to play along because it keeps the royal guard on their toes.
Oh my god.
You do a performance review. Well, you did let me get kidnapped this day. I'm afraid you're not getting a Christmas bonus.
In basically what you could consider that this is the second half of the Celestia Center Points episode, because while you were talking about this, it's like, we're just going through that episode in my head. You pointed out your favorite moments of Celestia, but also something that sounds like this is when she was drinking the tea and the cakes just keeps refilling the cup.
Yeah.
And then she made this sipping noise and kind of tricked them.
Yeah, she gets them to lighten up. She wants her subjects to be lighthearted, to be fun, to not be dragged down. That's the care and nurture taking form even in just a little prank. And so basically, it is the fulfillment of others in health, in inspiration, in stability. She wants them to be her best because their success is her greatest tribute. You want to say Celestia is a bad princess or ruler? Fine. Hey, look at everything her charges have done. You think they could have done that if someone hadn't laid the groundwork for them? So, want to throw that out there? I get all defensive. But now we have covered the female portion, but now we get to the male, and this is kind of hard. I mean, this is a show aimed at young women.
Are you gonna talk about Flash?
I'm afraid Flash in the Pan is not had enough characterization to call him an archetype. Maybe he's... Although maybe he would be considered an archetype, a shadow archetype of what we're about to have. The lover. Oh, the lover.
Before you continue,
Actually, I appreciate your comments, but we're facing the
question.
clock.
Question. Are you using the comics as well as the show in this?
I'm basing this mostly on the show.
Okay, that was my quick question.
Although it is worth mentioning in the comics, there is Zen in the Art of Gazebo Repair. Big Mac, unintentionally gets 6 adorations from mayors.
Oh wow.
But here's the thing. The lover, despite the name, is not necessarily romantic or sexual. Basically, this is the young idealist. Of all the elements, just as the queen, the ideal role that women can aspire towards, is a combination of the 3 archetypes plus some of her own traits. So too, the lover is an aspect of men, but it's not the whole package. You recognize a part of yourself in an archetype. You don't see your whole self. That's why you can have more than one favorite character. You can have more than one best pony.
It's not that hard.
I know, right?
I got 3-way tie on mine.
But the youngest and most idealistic is the lover, who's also the first to mature. Guys become aware of this desire to form connections even though they don't know how and are awkward as can be.
Oh right.
Oh, yes. They embrace emotion and feeling and awareness, and I know it says, wait, this is Big Macintosh, Mr. Yep Nope, isn't he? But also consider some of the scenes we've witnessed. During the Smile song, Pinky jumps on with 2 foals into the back of a hay truck, and Big Mac is just like, sure, here I go. And he gives them a run through town, and they're having so much fun. Just like that. Nightmare Nights in Luna Eclipsed. What is he doing? He's giving ponies a ride around town. They're just celebrating the party, and he's just looking like he's having the grandest time just shuttling. We've seen him with Brotherhood Social. I'm done. I'm good. This is a character who forms connections, who reaches out to the world and has awareness. It's the most emotional of the male archetypes. It is basically filled with passion, but that passion is unfocused. Big Mac, also in Brotherhood Social, leveled half the course. He wanted to help his sister so much, he cared so much, but he didn't know to turn on the brakes.
I carry it away.
It gets carried away, and so basically, the lover is an important aspect, but it needs discipline. And so we turn to our next archetype, which is full of the discipline. The warrior. Oh, head smack. Yes, this is a hard one to do because honestly, I said archetypes are ideas, but their expressions can sometimes falter. In truth, I don't believe Shining Armor is the perfect example, but this is not a show where combat comes into play a lot.
That will be better.
No.
To be honest, in defense of Shining Armor, we haven't seen everything of him. I mean, as young as he is, he becomes captain of the Royal Guard. If you were to equate to human standards, that's impressive.
It is, and that's the problem. Like Celestia, Shining Armor, Cadence, Luna's gotten a little bit more attention. But we've got this group of characters, we know they're supposed to be really good. We know that archetype, even if we're not really totally conscious of it, but we haven't been given the chance to see it. And that hurts the presentation.
Especially for Shining. Those people warp effect way too often.
Oh, Shiny, this is part of the problem. See, Warrior's different than just some brute with a sword. Different than some guy just walking through. The negative of a warrior, Shadow, could be like the Horde. Trolls and orcs just raising a village. That's just pure aggression and violence. A warrior, which we're kind of afraid of this archetype nowadays. We think of fighting, therefore we mistake that for aggression. A real warrior, disciplined, like a samurai ideal, or a knight who stays to true chivalry, not just put it on the pretense. They have empathy, they think on what they've done, they think what's needed, and they emphasize that. They focus their feelings. They can take the passion of the lover, but they direct it towards a cause and control their emotions. In essence, yeah, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to be aggressive. You see a guy who's harassing someone and beating them up, it's kind of natural that you want to slug him. Acting on that, however, may be undisciplined and make the situation worse. It's how you channel that aggression and find the healthy outlet. That is the ideal. That is what this archetype is meant to represent. And because of this, the warrior archetype in its fullest is considered a contradiction, a creative destroyer. The goal of these characters is basically a problem has come up. They step in and eliminate it and get out of the way. My favorite example of this is Superman. He was talking with then new Green Lantern Kyle Rayner. They were saying, our job is not to live people's lives for them. When the problem arises they can't handle, we swoop in, throttle the life out of it, and fly away. Get out of the way so they can go back to living their own lives. That was what he was basically coaching the Green Lantern to say, look, you have this great power, but you can't solve every problem for them. They've got to struggle a little bit for themselves. And that is the creative destroyer. Step in, handle what can't be handled by others, and then back off. Roman history had a general named Cincinnatus. And yes, that is where Cincinnati comes from. For 6 months, he was the complete dictator. Had every authority. Handled a crisis. My history is not as strong, so I can't describe the full crisis. But he had absolute power for 6 months, and then was like, okay, I'm done. He backed off.
Being a farmer.
And that's it. Actually, yes, Gladiator. Maximus. He is representative of that ideal. He could have total military power, even rule, and he'd just back off and go back to his farm. Because that was the discipline. He recognized it wasn't about him taking control. The dictator for life, what we think of now as a dictator in modern times, is the aggressive shadow. It's the guy who thinks it's all about me. There's only so much power and I have to take it. We'll get to that shadow as well. But next we turn to, well, we talked about the power of emotion, power of physical strength, and now we come to the power of the mind.
Oh,
Yes.
I had my cape.
I knew you were cosplaying him.
Keep an eye out for this guy. He's got an excellent sunburst cape.
Indeed, it was nice.
Yes, it is.
And you might think, well, Sunburst wasn't that great a magician. Couldn't really. Starlight got all the magical talent, but he had the knowledge. He's the Rincewind of Ponyville, of Equestria, the Wizard. Oh, sorry, Discworld reference. I highly recommend the Discworld series. Rincewind the Wizard.
Yes, the books.
There you go. Now the magician, the wizard, the tinkerer, this basically represents the drive to seek out knowledge, to learn more, to be skilled, to do, to basically be the most proficient at a task. You needn't necessarily be a grand inventor. You don't have to invent the iPad every time just to be a great inventor. You just have to find a way to use it to its fullest and fix the bugs in pretty much all things Mac. Please? Anybody? Nobody? Okay.
Most modern gamers need to learn.
Okay, yeah, work on that, get back to me next running the leagues, okay? I expect to have a bunch of Windows and Mac patches here next convention.
Yeah.
I know, we can't promise the world, but we can try. Basically, these are the inventors, the scientists, the tinkerers. Magic, you know, they say that technology that advances to a certain point is indistinguishable from magic. That's why a lot of really far future sci-fis, you can do just about anything. And it's no different from magic.
I got the power.
Well, that is magic. That's magic, and awesome hex. And again, He-Man, warrior archetype. Dude has all this power. What does he do? He saves the world. And then he steps aside. He goes back to being Adam. Now, I'm more a fan of the 2002 He-Man,
Yeah.
where Adam was actually physically scrawnier. I mean, he was really smaller and not just wearing a pink vest and purple leggings.
And different side of tail.
But, and that always comes up. But,
No, stop.
but basically, that's the idea. You're in, but then he had Man-at-Arms, who was, in a very real sense, a magician. Oh, Skeletor has a spell that froze half the planet? That's okay, I'll make this hyperbolic heat prognosticator. Sure you will. Okay.
No multimodal reflection sorting.
Yes! And that's basically, as absurd as that sounds, that's what a magician does. He's so skilled. He's so knowledgeable in his trust that he can basically work magic. So basically...
Next move.
Should I be in Equestria Girls 4? I got the hits for it.
If you're listening to Equestria Girls 4,
If that happens, I'm gonna.
I know 4 is already out, but I should have been in it because, you know.
if you were in it, that would have made that movie phenomenally better because, in my opinion, it was garbage.
Well, we'll tackle that in a future review. But
Yeah.
basically, just as Man-at-Arms is often the advisor to He-Man, just as Gandalf the White will often give Legolas and Aragorn their marching orders, tell them what they need to do, the magician is the guy who gives the warrior the instructions. This is what I need you to do. You are the strength, but that strength is useless without a goal. I know what your goal is because I've thought about it. And as I say, these archetypes are aspects of ourselves. You can be both the warrior and the magician, telling yourself what you need to do. Star Wars Rebels. Hands? Anyone? Remember the hunt for that planet? Carabast. Why am I suddenly blanking on the character's name? The Chewbacca early concept. Zex. Well, either way. Not
Zeb.
Thank you. I got Zex, I got Gundam, I got Zeb, Okay, Zeb was on a quest, and the prophecy involved a joker, a warrior, a child, and finally, basically, the magician, female, but a magician lady, she said, you are all three. You are the joker, and the warrior, and the fool, and the child. You're all of that in one. It was like, Carabast, I just want to be the warrior. Don't you just love sci-fi that makes up curse words?
Yeah, pretty much.
So now I'm counting properly. We have had the lover, the warrior, and the mage. Heart, body, mind. Bring them all together, and you have the king. And this is hard because there's exactly one guy with the title of king, Sombra. He's not a nice guy.
He gave you Slurpees, though.
He gives me Slurpees, but that's after he's been a little domesticated at 7-Eleven.
That was your fault.
But Sombra is a shadow of the king, the tyrant. Basically, he's afraid that there's only so much power in the world, and he wants it all for himself, so he tries to take it. That's also both an aspect of the shadow of a warrior. The real king, in his fullness, and I think Fancy Pants does fulfill this, he's a balancing center. He understands that he's in a position that can influence a great deal of the world around him, but he is not the center of that world. And that's often the case. He's got all the Cantalot elite just preening for his attention, and yet he doesn't bask in it. He holds himself with dignity, and he basically tries to influence opinions in a positive way. Never heard him. But
Wow.
But his goal is to inspire and promote others. And what did he do with Rarity? He lifted her up. He elevated her. He gave her status and recognized that she was a little bit more than the folks who were just sort of putting on airs. And basically that's what makes him the king archetype. He's not the king of Canterlot, but he cares a lot about it. His legacy is going to be creativity and positivity. Even though more recent episodes have shown him, I don't know, it's like it's saying he's rich and popular, therefore he's bad. Well, no. It's what you do with those gifts, with those opportunities. That is what defines us as people. Not what we have, what we do with what we have. With that in mind, I've covered the 4 aspects. We've got a little bit more time. I still want to have Q&A, but I want to cover a few other archetypes, such as the every mayor.
Wow.
Humble origins, extraordinary potential. Basically, Applejack was just a farm pony. She was happy to be just a farm pony, but events spun much larger, and it is her goal to meet them, to care for the community. Her goal is to belong, to be a part of something grander than herself, and to celebrate that. However, again, much like with Rarity, there's the temptation to lose oneself in groupthink. Her blind fear of Sakura, for example, early on, was a very low point for Applejack in the franchise. And the emphasis is she's not content. She's not just settling, okay, I gotta be a farmer if that's it. She's happy being a farmer. And if there's something she feels she needs, she will pursue that. But she's also not trying to take more than she needs. She's not insecure in her position or saying, well, golly gee, if only I'd been given Alicorn. What the hey, Larson? Another archetype is the Joker. And when I say Joker, I also mean the Jester. Because if I say Joker, everyone thinks, wait, do you want to see where I got these scars?
Or if you play a lot of video games.
Basically, the Jester, and yes, the Joker is a shadow of the Jester. The Joker, the character, not the Joker, a Joker. Oh, this is tough. Basically, come on. For those who have read or seen The Killing Joke, it's like, he points out all the world's absurdities and asks, why aren't you laughing? Well, the Jester points out the absurdities too, but the goal is not to break you or depress you, it's to lighten the mood. It's to sort of get people to realize, yeah, there's a lot of contradictions in this world. There's a lot of hypocrisy. And sometimes the only thing you can do is just laugh it off. Just take it easy. Have a good laugh at the politics. Celebrate the ones you believe in. But also just have a laugh at the guys who are acting like complete and utter buffoons.
You mean like everyone this year?
This year? In 4 years? In 2 weeks? Tomorrow?
Oh, I'm just sitting back and letting all of those idiots just...
Well, the goal is to live in the moment, to basically celebrate the moment, and in some ways, other people like to plan ahead, they like to be more disciplined, so the Jester can struggle with connecting to people in the moment. Pinky's greatest was Cranky Doodle. Part of me is a little sad that she won him over in one episode, rather than accepting with maturity that you can't connect with everyone right away. But she did respect that not everyone approaches life in the same way. Now, I talked about the damsel in distress as an archetype shadow of the princess. And it's very important that I chose Unicorn Twilight for this, because here's the grand joke we played on ourselves. Everyone was furious for 9 months after the end of Season 3. So mad that she had wings and a crown and was the princess. She's always been the princess archetype from episode 1. Because the princess is an immature heir to the queen. She's going to succeed Celestia in spirit, if not in title. And because of that, Twilight has an insatiable urge to learn, to say yes to an opportunity, to understand more about the world and gain information. That is what an ideal princess does. If anything, now that she has the wings and the castle, and she's sitting in the castle, she hasn't really gone out as much. I actually feel like they're in an awkward in-between. She's not the princess anymore, but she's not mature enough to be the queen. We're kind of stuck in the middle right now.
I'm not a child dad. Not an adult.
Not yet. Now, much as she had trouble with Sakura and other lessons, the princess may have to struggle with preconceptions or seeing things from outside her lifestyle. Twilight has lived a very specific, arguably privileged life. She's had tremendous opportunity. Understanding other perspectives is going to be hard for her because she's pretty darn stubborn. And our final archetype, you might think I'm insulting my favorite princess.
Crone?
The crone.
What?
I know what this sounds like. I know it sounds like I'm saying something terrible about it. Because usually when I say crone, you think this wizened old hag who might be living in a swamp and saying, "Oh, Sonny, I can help you. You just have to slay the dragon."
I just think of how weird some people are.
Yeah, there's probably someone doing that in real life right now. Just camping the fire. Oh, go slay the dragon. That's an alligator. Yeah, go slay it. No.
Florida. You're thinking of Florida.
Probably.
No!
The thing is, the crone is someone older who has failed to become the queen archetype. They suffered a fall, and it broke a very real part of them. They can never be the queen again. That doesn't mean their life is over. It doesn't mean they can give up. But now her role is not to try and become the queen, it's to try to help someone else reach that state. The crone is often someone who will give the warrior, the princess, the young adventurer something to work towards. Little hint. Little help. Little hemp. Oh my, that's also in Florida. Basically, they're the guide. They've been around the block, they know how the world works, they've seen and wrestled with the darker aspects, and now they can give a heads up. Luna has helped all three Cutie Mark Crusaders. Oftentimes in the comics, she's depicted as being the one that young children who are sort of awkward gravitate towards. She's the pony who's there for those who feel like they don't fit in, because she's had a lot on the dark side. And as a result, she can connect with others. She can help with them work through it. And that is why, even though she is young and has this marvelous design, does not look her 1,000 years at all, not a day over 101, she is the crone archetype. But again, they changed the presentation of it so it feels fresh and new and different and becomes my favorite princess.
Also helps Starlight Glimmer in a different way.
Indeed.
But she did help her.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, go, like,
Oh no, it's me.
enemies.
Oh my god.
I'm not buying any popsicles.
No popsicles,
So, just before we launch into Q&A, I think we can go over a few minutes just because we're a little delayed and I don't think there's a panel in here.
There's not a panel ahead of you for hours.
Then we've got a little time to talk things
The
out.
next panel is philosophy, and that's like 3-4 hours from now. So
There you go.
Damn.
as long as no one has anywhere to go.
But I do want to point to two websites. For the male quaternary, I went to theartofmanliness.com, which sounds kind of absurd, but sometimes you got to sift through things. But they offered a very good perspective on the 4 archetypes I described. And then jungianinfo.com is where I learned a lot of the fundamental stuff. I'm still reading into this, trying to understand it. Opinions on archetypes and what they mean vary between people. There's no textbook definition. And so it's worth looking into. I'd recommend it because even in children's programming, perhaps especially in children's programming, the archetypes and ideals are there just as much as they are in The Avengers, in Game of Thrones, in Star Trek, in what else is popular? Breaking Bad, Ash versus Evil Dead.
Okay, yeah.
Hail to the king, baby, but you got some work to do.
Just don't let your car get possessed by the Necronomicon.
And watch out for morgues. All right, so wanted to open I have here a mystery pack of Silver-Quill goodies. I do not know what is in this. I do not have X-ray vision.
Also, Kelly Packrat.
Oh dear.
So
It might be
it's ticking.
anthrax. It might be a bomb or anthrax specifically for you.
So I'm going to give this out to one participant, but let's see what kind of questions we can tackle. Hey, does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Okay. Just awful tough.
Well, the soldier and the warrior are often synonymous. We have the ideal soldier, the disciplined, strong protector of the realm or the nation. He goes to battle. Flash could be a warrior archetype, but we haven't gotten to see him do enough. Right now, he might be the shadow, the passive. You show him in a snazzy uniform and you're supposed to think he's awesome. Well, that's kind of passive. That's saying, look at me, I'm a warrior, I'm a soldier, I'm awesome. Well, dude, you got to do something first. You got to live the ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
All right, even though. All right, actually, I can't even ask this question because spoilers. This finale. I can't even ask it. Never mind. Well,
whisper it to me, and I'll see if I can answer in vagueness. In vagueness. Gotcha. All right. So the question is about a character who is struggling with himself and has risen in the show, but very abruptly. Unfortunately, much like Flash, this character did not get a lot of screen time, and so it's harder to pin him down. He could be considered a warrior. Oftentimes, the warrior can be an immature form of the king, or lead to it. There's also, some people like to further subdivide it. If you're young, you might be a prince archetype. You're seeking to become more, and that's what leads to becoming a king. Or a warrior might jump to a king as he grows up in the middle of a crisis. Unfortunately, a criticism I have is that this character advanced without really getting to face his demons directly. He was told what to do, directed. In other words, he became passive, and this is part of the problem in a show. When you market a show towards one gender, there's the temptation to reduce or remove the other to make the target audience look better. I think that's a mistake. Just as it's a mistake when shows about men are supposed to only involve women as token love interests. No, bad idea. Dumb. Very dumb. But by that same notion, swapping in and having a bunch of capable, competent women with a bunch of idiot guys around them is equally a mistake in my eyes. And that's where that imbalance takes place. So this character, who I have to keep vague, has the opportunity to become the king archetype, to show the king. And yet, he has not yet been the king because we haven't got to see him in that role. In fact, this character, after his ascension, has not even had a speaking role. That was weird.
Maybe when this is posted, the comment section will go nuts.
The comment section, it's YouTube. The comment section was going...
More specifically, going nuts over if they who they think it is, and who's right or not, because I swear they're going to be arguing with each other over who it is and who it isn't, but it's probably going to be easy to figure out who it is. And if anyone who's not a moron and is,
Or I could just go straight to you and ask you who it was, when there's no people around there.
I appreciate this, but I don't want to go too far and spoil things. Sir, you had a question.
I was thinking this for pretty much since we've got past the teamwork stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How would T-Rex fit in to find the role as the King Shadow?
As the Shadow, he wants all the magic power. He thinks there is a finite amount. There's X amount of magic in the world. I want it all. He has no concept of the magic of friendship. It sounds corny, but he's completely taken aback by it. He's the tyrant, much like Sombra, so small and petty and focused on himself that he thinks he has to snatch up everything lest he lose it. The king recognizes that, in a weird way, power is exponential. You share it with another, and they share it with others, and it spreads. It becomes more. It circles around the world, and you're not even the center of it anymore. You're a contributor. And a true king, in his fullness, in his health, in his mental maturity and emotional stability, recognizes that and is fine with it. He's not settling, he's happy. So, Tarek, the passive shadow of a king is basically the inept ruler who's just lying on his back not doing anything. Prince Rutherford. Prince Rutherford. The guy just throws a tantrum when things don't go his way. He's spoiled, he's childish, he's pitiful in my eyes. Blue Blood might be considered
Prince Blue Blood, yeah.
Might be considered that. I did like his comic rendition, but in the show we've only seen him in The Best Night Ever as an active spoiled brat.
How do you think I perform in the comics so good?
Indeed. Sir.
I was gonna ask, what archetypes do you think are personified by Scarlet Woman, both in season 5 and season 6?
Wow, that is excellent, because that is a hard one. See, okay, as Twilight is the princess, you also have shadows of that. One, it might be the aggressive, domineering personality. She's trying to take everything to enforce her will. She wants to grow up and be the center and be powerful, and she's failing. I mean, she doesn't even realize how badly she's undoing herself. But then now this is the nice thing. Just because you're the shadow doesn't mean you're stuck there. You can learn.
Gotcha.
Last night I was watching a YouTube channel that was sort of talking down about people who were really excited about Zootopia. He favored the incredible Mr. Fox and his message that people can't change. We're defined by our natures. I'm more drawn to the idea that, okay, we have negative tendencies or draws, but we can mature. We have the ability to rise beyond base impulses. And Starlight represents that. Her impulse is to just simply fix it with magic. She has that ability. She's learning to connect with others, to not lean on one talent, to be more diverse. She's becoming more of the queen. She's actually promoted herself. She was the shadow of the princess. Now she's working up to being a princess archetype herself. She's catching up to where Twilight was. But not yet is she about to rise to alicornhood or anything like that. Although I was kind of wondering at the season finale if she would. I can say she did.
I would more or less like to extend the question, except this only applies to the Equestria Girls movie. Where does Sunset Shimmer set into the archetypes?
Very similar. Now, again, she was, again, a shadow. She's not yet the crone because she's still got the life ahead of her. She has time to make amends, to get better, to improve. She, too, is entering the princess phase, where the fascination with magic coming into the human world is giving her an opportunity to learn, to grow, to question, and basically to improve herself. My favorite was actually the short where she tries to study all her human friends as they play musical instruments.
Yeah.
She gets blown up. One, I don't get to see that kind of slapstick with her often, so that's fantastic. And two, she's taking an active, curious role. She's channeling her own magician. She wants to tinker. She wants to go hands-on and learn what this is about. And she also is very hard on herself in the third movie because she's not getting it, and she's being very unforgiving in that ignorance. Yes, sir.
More just a question, not exactly what I was going to ask. Are you videotaping this?
Yes, my friend has been recording. We had to switch SD cards because I am a camera hog. And I actually have a backlog of panels that I should upload to my YouTube channel.
I was about to say.
Hey, my dear.
No, here's my failing. I don't know what archetype this would be. The procrastinator.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could be.
You make procrastinators look like they're busy.
Oh, I'm the stone archetype. I'm barely moving. No, in my rush to keep going with review episodes, I let the panels off and sit and gather dust on the hard drives. But they're there, and I should upload them. So, there's my homework assignment.
Damn,
For
do
6
I need
months.
to come over and actually help upload those on your
Yes, if you could just smack the back of my head and not stop until I upload, it's like, okay, Sam, okay, I've uploaded. Sam, stop it. Sam? Yes, a question? Question.
Yes. So, can you explain anything about the whole type of different personalities? I guess that. What is it? And what is the what you are? What is you? What are you?
What am I?
Well,
Well, I'm a little bit of everything. At least that's how I like to view it. Let's see here. This is a lover. Masquerade. I get to come to conventions and I get to talk to people who I wouldn't otherwise get to meet. I get to put faces to the people who are watching my videos. And that is a huge charge. That is a huge upswell of positivity for me. And so that re-energizes me to go work on videos. I came from Nightmare Nights Dallas, And for the next week, I was working on a 40-minute video. Now I want to hit you with a ratio. Every minute of video, mathematically, give or take, is about an hour of production work, graphics and editing. So that's at least 40 hours of my life.
Plus the script writing.
Plus the script writing, coordinating with 5 other collaborators.
And the zombies.
And the guys, 2 of my zombies. Eh? Give them a hand. Eh? They put their brains into it. So there's both the lover and the magician. I love to tinker. I want to be good at editing. I want to be good at reviewing. I want to show this talent. So warrior, I get mad. I get mad when I see people who are also doing reviews and they're relying on petty drama or cheap shots at others to promote themselves. You're not getting by. You're not celebrating yourself on talent. You're just simply being a drama hog. That makes me upset. That makes me angry. And I have to show some discipline and not go on a tirade because what's that going to fulfill? No. I'd rather try and channel the king and recognize that fame is not finite amongst people. I can have a strong viewership, and so can another channel. And I'd rather alert people with collaborations and shout-outs to channels that I think are putting forth genuine effort and insight, rather than giving the attention to people who would rather skate by on drama. So we're all a mix of the two. Not perfection. Work to develop. I'm still working. I'm still a work in progress. But once you recognize what you want to be, it's a little easier to take a look at where you are now and where you have to go. There's the magician saying, "Hey, warrior. Hey, romancer. My king. We need to get over here. We're here." How do we make that walk? Other questions? Yes, please.
Alright, so since you talked about the 2 of the honorary mentions, the other secondary characters that the show seems to focus on, like Spike and the Kingdom Mark Crusaders, just what would be your opinions of what archetypes they would be? Because at the moment I see Spike as the sidekick, comic relief, and the Kingdom Mark Crusaders, they're not quite yet any of those archetypes, but they're growing into it.
While I was reading up on this, there were archetypes for the very young, the adventurous, the bold. In a weird way, they are kind of in the princess role, that they're seeking knowledge, they're seeking to better understand themselves. The tough thing about titles like king, queen, princess, prince, duke, baron, everyone associates that with medieval royalty, when really it's more a position of contribution. And the Crusaders have been striving very strong for how they can contribute. Now, for a while, though, pause for dramatic effect, for a while, their sole gimmick was, how are we going to get our cutie marks? What do we do for our cutie marks? Let's get our cutie marks. This is why they drove people kind of nuts. Because they weren't really being characters, they were being a gimmick. Cutie marks!
Especially because we knew what their, at least cutie marks, were special talents were going to be since, I don't remember the name of the episode, but when they were putting on... Showstoppers, when they were putting on the play, each one was like trying to do it, and they're like, no, this is how you do it, and it started working out, and it's like, and that's what their cutie mark should be. So the entire time they were all going off and doing something else, we knew what they were supposed to be. That was irritating.
It was, and so it was, but then suddenly they were dealing with bullying, they were dealing with facing limitations in Flight to the Finish, they were dealing with their own dynamics. Now suddenly they're becoming more well-rounded characters. I think, let's see, Bad Apple was season 3?
Yeah, Bad Apple was season 3 when Babsy was introduced.
Even though season 3 I consider to be the weakest of the seasons, the half runtime didn't help. It had probably had the turning point for maturity and interest in the Crusaders. They became better characters in that moment. Spike, funny enough, he is the Dragon Lord now. He might actually be more the king. He is tempted, but he also recognizes that he can do more helping, and helping Twilight be the best she can be, and helping others and being there for his friends. And then when he stepped up in Gauntlet of Fire, one of the best Spike episodes.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that as the best. The Time Slayer Changeling, just coming in underneath. Like Gauntlet of Fire was Spike reaching the peak of his courage, his maturity. He was being a king. He was being a lord. Dragon Lord. How fitting.
Yeah. But he pulled back. He knew that he should pull back and gave it to Ember.
Well, he recognized, here is someone I respect who will show the same discipline and be as good a ruler, if not better. He recognizes he is not the center. The world will not fall apart if he turns over the scepter, as long as someone he believes will work with them is in charge. He recognized Ember is the right person for this role. And so he has no hesitation giving it up. And he gains a tsundere semi-girlfriend in the process.
The fandom loves it.
Okay, yeah, so to quote DWK, this was the season of waifus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The season of waifus.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to overimpose on the convention just because there isn't another panel. They might need this projector for another.
It's true.
So I'm going to say that it is a special question that forces one person to look at himself and try to define himself with the archetypes. So, for you, sir, for your insightful question about what archetypes am I? You asked that, yes? If I remember right, if I'm not getting mixed up. So, well done. Thank you for the very interesting, intelligent question. Thank you all, though, for sharing your thoughts, your questions, and coming to this panel. I hope it was entertaining.